Good evening, everyone. Tonight's presentation will be on umpire communication. And our presenters are Joe Omundson and Alan Morrison. And guys, go ahead, take it away.
All righty. Joe, you want to start or you want me to?
Feel free to start. I'll jump in.
Okay. All right. So coming off of last Wednesday and then our clinic, we were tasked with umpire information or how to in certain situations. So with those two presentations, really good presentations we've heard within the last 7 days, what else was there to do? And obviously communication. Maybe not be the most obvious thing, but good grief, not only umpire communication, but communication for the crew. One thing that, as I was putting this together, or Joe and I were communicating about this, was that as we're going through this, the umpire seems to be like other than the referee, and sometimes more than the referee, the umpire seems to be like the communication hub. And without that communication, it can be lacking, or it can be a void in the game, and where there's a lot of miscommunication when there's no communication. So, so as we go through this, if you guys got any comments or opinions, I'd love to hear them. These are what you're going to see are communication opinions, and they're not. You won't find these in most books, or hardly any books about how the proper communication should be. Everybody kind of takes their own idea of how to do it. So this is kind of a collaboration between Joe and myself, kind of what we do, and it seems to be working for us. The umpires that are on the call with, the referees that are on call with, feel like they communicate well with myself and Joe. So we'll get started. Again, the first slide here, and this kind of speaks volumes here. Most coaches will tell you communication is the most important skill they expect of an official, and that is so true. And we're going to touch on some of the sideline stuff, crew stuff, and then player stuff. And then that picture right there, probably build a whole presentation just off that picture right there alone. Obviously, they are not on the same page. And those of you who have been in a situation where you're being evaluated, especially at that level, that is nobody's going to miss that. I trust me, that they're going to pick up on that. So, Joe, you got any comments to add on this? So,
yeah, my whole thing is, of course, this is what we do, or what I do. I know, and Alan does, and I know everybody's got a little different, and we don't work crews, so it's a little different on Friday nights. So you can't get a real good feel, and you got to kind of go with what your white hat wants. But this is going to be what we do. Definitely be vocal out
there. Yeah. And just to kind of go ahead, Joe, go ahead and change the slide. And to kind of piggyback on that, one thing I would recommend for any new official starting out is learn the mechanics more so than the rules. Not that rules are not important. You'll spend the rest of your life learning the rules, but if you're in the right position, odds are good chances you're going to make the right call. So, and I say this jokingly to about every referee I work with, I will always defer to the white hat. Always will. So it's not that I may not know the rule, but I will defer to the white hat more times than not. So, but anyhow, all right. So communication pregame, very important, at least it is for me. A lot of I've worked with just about every referee that's on this call in some way or form or fashion, and pregame is very important, especially for me as an umpire. I will discuss hand signals with my referee, my position alignment, and I'll get to that in just a second. But I'll talk about that. Also talk about that with my short wing guys. And then as we move on to the field, one thing that I like to do as I walk around the field, and obviously or maybe not obviously, but the referee and the umpire always, high school level, always go address the head coach together and throw things out there. And one thing I've added that I make this my own. I want to know if they're going to do a no huddle, because that right there as an umpire can dictate the pace of the game. Are they going to hurry up? Are they not going to? Are they going to slow it down? Are they going to huddle? Because that can affect you, and you need to know that as you're going down the field. And we'll talk about that in a few minutes as ball movement. But yeah, to me, that's very important. And I get that information from the coach. You're not asking any secret, and sometimes they're a little bit reluctant to ask, but more times than not, they're going to talk to you about it. Then all the way into the coin toss, communicate with the referee. Referee asked me which side. I always put the referee's back to the scoreboard. I've read that, but I can't find it in the rule book that's where it's supposed to be. I don't even know if that's a mechanic. I don't even be honest with you. But that's what it is. Okay.
Yep.
It is. Okay. All right. So, like I say, if you're an umpire, more times than not, the referee will ask you what side you on. So I always just do that. So, again, this is what I do, and Joe and I kind of, like I say, we collaborate and agree on all of this stuff. I like to be able to make eye-to-eye contact. Sometimes you may be 20 yards away from each other, but I do like to be able to do that. Hand signals are very important, especially when you're getting the count. And where I line up, I'm at that, depending on down and distance. If I think it's short, like a second or third and short, I may move up. If it's fourth down and long, I may drift back in that 9 to 10 yards. And I'm just about always diagonal from the referee. There are going to be times where I may be head up my center. But I kind of like to have that diagonal view to look through into the referee. Not all umpires do that. They'll lock down on that head up on the center. I kind of like to be a little bit offset. Umpire to crew, and this is very important, especially like I say when we're dictating the flow of the game. Hand signals. During my pregame, I will signal, like if it's a 5-yard penalty, I'll look at my short wing and I'll go 1, 2, 3, 1 being 5 yards, 2 being 10, and 3 being 15. And I'll obviously I always like to make eye contact with them too. So, Joe?
Yeah, I think the one thing on Friday nights we probably do the least is the penalty enforcement. We should, per the mechanics, we should be signaling to our short wings so we can, all three of us, end up at the same spot. That's just a double check. I know often with only a 5-man crew, your short wings are talking to the coaches, and some on easy ones we might just go and get it done, trying to be done before the white hat finishes his announcement, so we can keep the game moving. But it is very important, hand signals with the white hat, especially when you're counting. If you don't have 11, know what hand signal, so that we're both on the same page. He doesn't have 11, I don't have 11. If we both have 10, we're fine. If we both have 12, not so fine. But that's kind of the key thing to be able to do quickly and without letting the whole world know that you're counting 10 on the field.
Yeah, and like Joe was saying, it's really good to be able to communicate with your crew and to constantly look around and try to get into the rhythm and flow of the game. I've got checkoffs that in my head that I'm going through and checking my short wings. Is what I do. I'll give you a good example of why it's very important to communicate with your short wings. I'll tell you a real quick mistake I made. It's probably been 2 or 3 years ago. I was over at Haggerty, and it was like fourth down and about 20. Okay, so they didn't make it. However, the big line was the 10-yard line. So I look over at my short wing, and he has me short of the big line where the guy came down. Okay, so it was change of possession. So I put the ball on the 10-yard line. Okay, now if that's where they got to, Haggerty had the first down. In my head, I thought, we'll start this on the big line, because I really didn't even pay attention to my short wing. And the whole time he's telling me to move the ball up instead of leaving it on the line. And needless to say, the Haggerty coach called on to that. And that was a big, probably a 5-minute conversation and embarrassment on my part, because I didn't put the ball where it actually came down. Now, that don't always become an issue, but when it's change of possession, that can be an issue. So just kind of again, word to the wise to make sure you check out your short wing guys with a spot. So, all right, crew communications. Communicate down and distance every play. Very important, because it's very easy when you're in the middle of the field, or depending on what happens on the previous play, to lose a down. It's not that difficult, and trust me, I think everybody on this call understands that and realizes that. It's good. Make sure that it's really good communication, that everybody does it. And if you're wrong, say something. And that's one of the bullet points down at the bottom. But anyhow, understand who you are responsible to count and signal. Count before every down begins. Again, another very important mechanic. Again, make that your own. Make sure the referee can see you, you see him. Give the count. Hand up with a fist is what I do with my count. And then if I've got less than 10, I'll pat my chest. And if I got more than 11, I'll give a thumbs down. So that's what I do. Alert official of who has responsibility for the game clock. Actually, I should have took that out, because that's really not anything that we have to worry about. Alert officials of who has responsibility for the goal line. Okay, when you're in the middle of the field, I like to hear the short wings say who's got the goal line, and if they don't, I'm asking them who has the goal line. Again, that's just me. I probably over officiate. That's really not what I should be doing, but I do want to know that. If I'm throwing a flag, I'm gonna repeat whistle blast to alert crew of a penalty marker, because there are times when a flag can go down, and especially on a false start, that to make sure everybody understands that you're killing the play. And again, one thing that I think a lot of you officials kind of pulled back on, and I'm not going to tell you this is right or wrong. You get into the own flow of your game, and you get comfortable with it. If you see something is wrong, say something. As a new official, just be leery of that. Make sure that if you see something wrong, make sure that it is wrong, and not that you think it's wrong. So, Joe?
Yeah, everybody has their own routine you go through every play. I know I have my routine, whether I'm changing when I change my two indicators on my wrists, what down it is. I know we're on Friday nights, we're supposed to be moving off that ball quick. We're not holding the ball, but I am not moving off that ball if the down box doesn't have the right number, and we're not signaling. If we're not all saying third down, I'm not moving away until we know what down it is. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But normally it just means the box operator is a little slow. Obviously, as an umpire, we're counting offense, and we're counting our ineligibles. Every single down, I normally start with my 5 ineligibles and then find my 6 eligibles / quarterback. That's how I do it in my rhythm. So I know I have my 5 guys 50 to 79 where they're supposed to be. So we're not going to have any problem there. I, like Alan, will announce the goal line. If we're inside the 5, I'm normally saying goal line and making eye contact with the short wings or with the white hat, so we know somebody's watching that big line, because it's the most important part. But if something's wrong, kill it, stop the clock, come together. We have 5 guys out there on Friday nights to make sure we're going to get it right.
Yeah, one last thing I want to say, and it's kind of a pet peeve of mine, and it's part of the hand signal communication. And you white hats that are on here, I kind of feel for you because you guys have probably been in this situation. It it bothers me. It's a pet peeve because I think it looks good, but when you don't do it, to me, I don't know why we don't do it on kickoffs. You're back there and the white hat is going around to all the officials to check to make sure everything's okay. And you got your hand up in the air and you look around and nobody's paying attention, or maybe one is not, but yet the referee has to blow the whistle or we're going to stay there all day. That is just, I don't know why, but man, that bothers me. And any white hat on here, if you want to speak out about that, or maybe I'm just making something big out of nothing. Larry, what's your thought on that?
I agree. What you're saying, it's important that they get their hands up so the referee can start the game.
Yeah, that just, I don't know why that bothers me, but it does. But anyhow.
And it lets the referee know everybody's in the game and watching what's going on.
Yeah, I agree. I totally agree. All right, next one. All right, now this is a big one for me. Okay, player communication, and I got this from my pal Jamal Taylor. And I've watched him a lot. He probably didn't realize that, but talks to players when you're in the middle of the field. Now it's good. It's very important to have communication between the white hat, your side wings, but I'm going to tell you, player communication to me is preventive officiating. You can stop things from happening. You can slow things down from happening by talking to these players throughout the game, kind of create a relationship. Matter of fact, I've known kids that I've seen go up that remember me from 1 week to the next or 1 year to the next. And one of the things that I do during my pregame, I'll go around and talk to the centers. I'll get their name, write it down on my card, and then I'll tell the coach. I never do it without telling the head coach that I'm going to be talking to his center. I tell him I'm going to call him by his first name. You'll hear me talking to him, and so that we can move the game along and I keep pace with your offense. And I've never had a coach complain about that, or most of them are just very complimentary that you're doing that. But yeah, I think this is really big. And I think in the middle of the field, the communication with the players, you can prevent a lot. And again, I just call it preventive officiating. Anyhow, so again, compliment players. I have no problem doing that. And I mean, I just think the whole ball of wax there is very very critical to the flow of the game. Joe, you got anything?
Yeah, and the compliments are, just talking to them, that's good, especially as the play ends, once the ball's down. We're not blowing our whistle, thank goodness. But we're vocal in there, and that's gonna 9 times out of 10, somebody's not gonna act up when you're right behind. And we're normally right in the middle, so we can talk to both the offense and defensive players. Hopefully, cut out any of the extracurriculars after the play, and just keep it moving and get to the next play and get everybody home safe.
Okay, I'll go ahead. Next screen. Okay, now one of the best opportunities for communication is during the dead ball time period. And that dead ball officiating to me is there's a lot of communication that goes on during that time period. And these are just some things that during the dead ball officiating time period that I find critical to the whole communication portion of it. Again, spotting the ball, that's part of my routine. I put the ball, I have a ball in my hand, I look to my short wing for a spot, I put it down, I look across at my white hat, and then I back out. I mean, all this is one fluid motion. I back out, and then I focus on my 2 guards in the center, and away we go. All that happens in a second or less. And so it's very important especially getting the right spot on ball. I mentioned a while ago. Hustle, don't hurry. You'll hear that a lot. Good ball rotation. That's very critical, and that's another pregame thing a conversation you want to have with your deep guy on a long pass. You want to make sure that if it's a long, deep ball, I'm not looking for that ball to come in. I'm looking for the sideline to my short wings, and all this is being discussed during the pregame. And then then off-ball officiating, again, those are those conversations you're having with these players. If they're close to holding, just let them know that you're watching them. Just those types of things. Player going out of bounds, again, continue to watch players use a beanbag. As an umpire, more times than not, you're going to do this the most, digging for footballs and talking, roll up easy, ball's dead. If you don't have a hand on it, get out of the way. Of course, I wrote in there, only the closest official becomes the digger, and that is true, but more times than not, it's the umpire. Actively locate the ball and determine who has possession. Again, you saw the very first slide. It's very important that if you are the digger, that you communicate with your referee who has the ball, and to use good verbal techniques while digging and announce yourself to the players. So,
Alan, can I ask you a question?
Sure.
When you're digging and you know which team has it, what do you report? How do you report it to the referee?
Well, I used to report by color of the jersey.
We're not supposed to do that anymore.
Huh?
We're not supposed to do that anymore.
I know. So I go with offense or defense. At least I'm trying to teach myself how to do that. Or I'll announce the school, whoever has it. So, Chris, what is your preferred method of this?
Either way, you just said, just as long as you're not pointing the wrong direction.
That's what I'm thinking. I think really, does it matter though? Seriously, that's a good question.
I usually stick with color and let the referee figure it out.
I was going to ask you, why are we not supposed to do color? I've not heard that one.
Oh,
I think that might be. They changed the mechanic, I think.
Well, I know for Saturdays they told us to stop using the colors. That was in one of the videos, but it might be for Friday too. But so I just get it to hang on. I've been trying to use the team names if I can
probably team name would probably be
when there's a mad
way.
scramble for the football and you're trying to remember who was on offense and who was on defense, I think it's better to stick with the color and let someone else who's clear-headed figure out which way we're going.
I totally agree. I don't know. I can't see if Kerry Jackson's on here, but we were at Dr. Phillips, I think, last year, and we had a fumble, and I said offense has it, I don't remember. It could have been like a change of possession, like previous offense or the new offense. Something like that.
So Alan, a question did come in. How do you dig without touching a player?
Oh, you can't. You can't. You're going to have to. I don't mean grab. As you dig, actually, Wally Huff told me this. As you dig, you're pushing your arm in there around people to put your hand on the ball. You're not necessarily grabbing. You're not grabbing anything other than trying to touch the football. That's really the way I was taught how to do that, or was suggested that I do it like that.
Yeah, so. I know we talk about it. It's only in our presentations how we don't touch the players. At the umpire position, there are times when we make contact with the players, and that's going to happen. I mean, digging for the ball is one of them. You know, when they use this as a screen is another one.
I've seen officials. I'm looking to see if he's on here. I saw, no, he's not. Grab a Pop Warner kid by the back of the shoulder pads and pick him up off the ground. Unpile the pile. Yeah. So,
hey, Alan.
Yes.
that
wasn't you, Kerry.
You mentioned
it. Yeah. So anyhow, that's again, this is this is what I do. I'm a firm believer in making things your own and then go from there. All right, Joe, I think this may be it. We got one
Yeah,
more.
and just one more thing on ball rotation. A pet peeve of mine is the ball boys pretending they're Sunday quarterbacks and throwing it into me in the middle of the field. It doesn't normally wind up well. I'd prefer it coming from an official on the sideline when we're calling for a ball and not the actual ball boy throwing it in. That's one of my pet peeves. Nope, that was it, huh?
I think so, but since Kerry, since you got your speaker off, as a referee,
Mhm.
what are some of the things you look for or you appreciate most out of communication from your umpire? What do you consider a good umpire as communication wise?
I think if we've discussed it in the pregame, we know sometimes how to communicate non-verbally. A prime example, Joe and I had a game. Joe, I don't know if you remember this. This was out of East Ridge a couple years back, and there was a hurdling, and I could see Joe's eyes. He didn't have to say anything. He just looked, and I looked, and I said, "Yeah, I got the same thing." So we kind of made eye contact, and we confirmed that we both had the same thing.
Yeah.
So it's just sometimes those nonverbal communication skills. The thing I really appreciate about an umpire is keeping the game flowing as efficiently as possible. So when you're marking off fouls, you're not counting a 1 yard line at a time. So you just going 5 yards and putting the ball down, or going 10 yards and putting the ball down.
Yeah.
Talking to the lineman, just some general things like that are really that. So they're small things, but they can come up big sometimes.
One thing, one of the most important lines for me personally is, and a lot of referees don't do this. I mean, a lot of umpires don't do this. I tell the referee in our pregame that I have the ball 100% of the time. I do not want them touching it. I will always take it. And the reason I say that, and I have that in my mindset, is because that way I don't ever look for you. If you're there and you want to help, hey, okay, I'd rather you not. But I know if I go into every time to go into a sideline to look for a ball or whatever, in my head, I know that you're not going to be there. And so that's how I play that. Like, you're not, it's all on me. And I like that. I have no issue with that. But yeah, I always do that. Don't always work out like that, but that's my mindset.
Joe, Alan, do you mind if I add in that, talking about ball rotation, also talking about spotting the ball. Once the play comes dead, there's absolutely no hurry to get the ball. Everybody needs to dead ball officiate before we get a ball and start rotating it in. You have to make sure action stops before you worry about a football.
No, I agree. And the reason for that, in my opinion, is, man, how many times do you get thrown the wrong football? And then you got to stop it anyway because you had the wrong ball, because you're in a hurry to get it back. But that is that's one of my probably hardest things for me to have to work on. I get into a flow of game, and then all of a sudden the ball is dead, and knowing that I don't have to hurry back, I do that anyway. And that's but Chris, to your point, I agree with you 100%. My actions may not be that during a game, but I do agree with you in my head. I agree with you. On the field, I may not realize what I'm doing sometimes.
Does anybody else have any questions?
Well, for me personally, I like an umpire that when there's a no huddle offense, that they don't let the offense take an advantage of hustling up when the previous play is not even over yet. There's players still getting up off the ground. So they'll stand over the ball and wait till the players are ready. I've always appreciated that, so that neither team gets an advantage. And second, I like an umpire that if I think I'm kicking a rule, that they're not afraid to disagree with me.
Yep. I would agree.
Oh, yeah. Any other questions or comments?
Yeah. When I was out there as the referee, to me, the most important thing for the umpire was the communicate, was the talking to the players, letting yourself be known that you're there. Nothing was worse than working a game and there's no sound over there from the umpire. And there's so much crap going on in the line. It seems that when you talk to them, they know you're there, there's less of that. So you guys, I know I've worked with both you two guys and Jeff Granger too. I know that you all talk, and that's good. And that's what I like to see.
Thank you.
All right, we're coming to the end of our time, but any other questions?
My question is, since we know that the umpire is always the smartest guy and most important guy on the field, how did it get to be that way?
That is what? What was the end of that? What did you say?
It was a question. Since it was supposed to be a question, my question was, how did we all get to be the smartest, most important people on the field?
So
We're not busy out there running laps. We're out there studying the penalty enforcements.
Maybe that might be self-proclaimed. Jeff, that may be self-proclaimed.
Yes, I think that's better.
I learned it from Jamal.
No. Historically, that probably happened when the referee got hit in the head one day, and the umpire had to step up.
You're probably right. You want to see how much an umpire don't know? Have him change sides of the field, and that'll reveal it.
All right, everybody, the wheels are coming off now.
I got you.
No, you're good. All right, well, thank you all for attending this evening. Appreciate you coming and showing up. Next week, Jason Vinson will present on forward progress. It's mainly for line of scrimmage officials, but everybody is welcome to attend. And with Jason, I'm sure we're going to learn something. So I appreciate your time again. Thank you and have a great evening.
Thanks, Chris. All right. Thanks, gentlemen. Thanks.
Thanks.
Thank you, gentlemen. Good job, guys.